And I would like to welcome Belinda Ferrell to the show. Thank you, Belinda, for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. Aloha.
Aloha. Oh, before I hit record, just having our little 10-minute conversation, I wanted you to know that I have thoroughly enjoyed learning about you and know that what your journey has done for me, and I told you that is done for my mom, to say, Mom, you're 78, and this woman I'm interviewing, her life story and what she's done, and really listen. What I think you've done is you've listened at 40, once you decided, that I felt like that was your turning point, but we're going to go back there. But I feel like now listening to your life up till today, like you've listened and you've taken the breadcrumbs and you've listen to that intuition. And I feel like people that do that is when they find the magic, is when you discover magic along your journey. But can you take us all back? Because the story is magical. And this episode, you are going to want to share it with all of your friends. It is so powerful and you are amazing. I think you're an angel. You're an angel on this earth. So start with that, whatever, go back to when you were 40, or if you want to go before that.
Well, it takes one to know one. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I didn't know anything about healing when I was growing up, but I was a very joyful child. And I was put into Catholic school. And the nuns would call my mother and say, she's too joyful. She has to suffer more. And I never understood that.
Oh,
I
funny.
never quite understood that, but it was true. I finally got expelled from Catholic school in 8th grade. And it set me on a path just wanting to just explore and know that I'm not going to be reprimanded for exploring. And it was exciting. And I went to a wonderful high school. I went to Berkeley in my college years, and things were great until I graduated from Berkeley. I thought I was going to go into the Pasadena Playhouse, but they decided to renovate at that time. So I had to look for another job. I interviewed at Disneyland, and then they made me Snow White, even though I wanted to be a tour guide.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying, you have to kind of take what life gives you and then make something out of it. It was exciting.
Fun.
But then I went to ABC and I started working at ABC, and then there was a strike down the hall with the news department, and they were looking for people to take over and go out on the field and get news stories. So I had no training at all, but I thought, why not? Became a news reporter. And during that time, the CIA was doing a security clearance on me. Don't know why, but they just started to do a clearance because they wanted me to become an agent in Spain because I spoke Spanish.
Huh.
So I allowed that to take place. And then when the clearance came through, I was sent to Langley, sent to Washington, D.C., realized that it was not a good mix, me and the CIA. We wouldn't, I don't think I would have lasted.
Oh,
But
funny.
anyway, I told them no. And then I had to find another job. And of course, as luck would have it, I go to the Capitol building and I run into a senator. Literally, bang, we fall on the floor. And it was Senator Brooks of Massachusetts. And he told me to go seek out Charles H. Percy of Illinois. And I interviewed with him, not sure what that would happen. And then I got a job somewhere else, but then the Percy office called me and I was hired.
Huh.
So I go to work for a United States senator, and that's where I meet my husband to be, who was a medical student and came in and decided that he was going to date me and he wouldn't leave until I decided to say yes.
Wow. Persistence.
I think there was a lot of karma involved in that.
Oh, funny.
So we were married 18 years. I had 2 wonderful children. But at the age of 40, I felt as though my spirit was being depleted because he was not into the idea that I could be happy, and
Hmm.
only he could be happy, and that was it.
Wow.
And I think if I had stayed any longer in that marriage, I would have died a spiritual death.
Hmm.
So I left, and I just wanted to make up for lost time. And I saw an ad in the paper for a fire walk. And I thought, this is ridiculous, but it would certainly get rid of fear. And I had so much fear inside of me because I was always doing what other people wanted me to do.
Hmm.
And I attended a religious meeting of some minister who she had gone on the fire walk with Tony. And I thought, well, she's still alive and she's still vibrant. So if
Oh,
she can
funny.
do it, maybe I can do it. So
Huh.
when Tony came into town, I took the fire walk, did not burn.
Hmm.
He prepares you completely, to write down all your fears and throw them in the fire. And then you become one with the fire. When I was studying Huna in Hawaii, I realized then why the fire walk was successful, because you're one of the elements, your earth, your air, your fire, and your water. And so when you become one with the fire, you don't burn.
Hmm.
He gets you to breathe and to really connect with that fire. And so I was hooked. And the next time he came into town, I took the whole seminar, and I stayed with him for about 5 years.
Huh.
And I was one of his road managers, making sure he had all his stuff on stage. He was an amazing teacher. And after you've walked on 2,000 degrees of hot coals, you really say to yourself, well, what would I like to do that I've never done? If I can
Right.
walk on 2,000 degrees of hot coals, there must be something else that I've never done. And what came up for me is that I always wanted to drive a race car. Duh, don't know where that
I
came from.
that just blows me away to think this little lady that I'm looking at is this race car driver. But before we go on to that, when you meet Tony and that you just something inside of you says, "Oh my gosh, this is what's going to get me through this fear." And
Yeah,
then you realize, like, the metaphor for that walk, and what he does is he shows you, if you can do this, what can't you do? Like, right? So when
yeah.
you're doing that walk, and you did it 18 times, um, but think of, people that have this fear that always is stopping them, and they're always, thinking, well, I can't do that. Or even growing in a relationship like you did for 18 years with a man that never let you experience the fear or let you show that you can do things outside of that wall that you want to kick down, that Tony says.
Well, Tony says, if you say you can't, you must.
Yes.
And if you must, then you will. So that became a mantra. And if I heard myself say can't, then it was like, oh God, I must. How will I get this handled? And that's really how the race car thing took place, because I had a girlfriend that was going to come with me. And then of course she backed out, and I thought, I can't back out. I have to go forward. So I have to find out, where can I learn how to drive a race car? And that's what I did. I just called on the phone, and Sears Point was called Sears Point at that time,
Huh.
Bob Bondurant School of High Performance Driving. And it was expensive, but I saved my money and did it for my birthday the following year.
Oh
And I
my gosh.
arrived and I was scared to death, scared to death. I said, I'm just going to be a sponge. I don't know how to drive a stick shift, but I can learn.
Huh.
So
How
there,
old are you at this point?
pardon?
In your 40s?
I
How
was,
old are you?
I was just 40
Okay.
at that time. Yeah, no, I'm 76 now.
76, everyone. And mom, if you're listening, and I know you will be, my mom's 78, and I'm thinking, man, she's going to be any woman, even,
76 trombone.
yes. Oh, yes, the 76. Okay, continue. The story is
But in,
just amazing.
but in your 40s, that was a 4-day Grand Prix road racing course. And a lot of it was done in the classroom, understanding the physics of how cars, turn, how you can manipulate them. And I just guess I had some talent, because after the 4-day road racing course, they offered me a job driving cars for Buick and Cadillac in New York.
Oh my gosh.
And they were going to pay me a lot of money. I thought, are you kidding me to do something so wonderful and hit
Huh.
your mark? I could hit my mark. I had really good peripheral vision. And that's what you have to have. You have to have eyes behind your head so that you know what you're doing all the time and you know what somebody else is doing, even though you don't even see what they're doing. So
When
it's
you
just
look back, but when you look back at that and you look back at making that choice, because that was a choice that you
right.
made and something inside of you was telling you, I mean, car racing, you like, do you, and what did it do? Like, what do you think when you look back at that, making that decision to go do that, like something inside of you had, it was, lit up about that. Like, who would do that?
It was an adrenaline rush.
Huh?
And I kind of became an adrenaline junkie after that.
How funny.
Not so sure. All of that was wonderful, but um, it just ignited something inside of me that I could control something that not everybody could control me because people were trying to control me, but I could control this car,
Right.
get this
I
car
get
to do
that.
what I wanted to do. When I came back from the job in New York, they created a stunt course for me so they could teach me how to do spins and slides. And I was a kid who used to throw up whenever anybody took me for a ride around a mountain
Right.
and it curved. I was always the one throwing up with
Oh
them.
my gosh.
And now I
Yeah.
was making my teacher sitting next to me, I was making him throw up
Oh, funny.
because it was very exciting and it was hard because if you failed, you could die.
I know.
So I got a partner from the driving school. He was my teacher and then he became my partner. And we joined a racing team in Los Angeles. And we just started getting jobs and we were hired and just going all over the countryside doing car commercials,
Oh my
doing
gosh.
films. It was just exciting. I never really gave it a second thought. It was just my job.
Right. Huh.
And I had teenage kids at the time, so I couldn't be gone too long, a week at a time. That would be my my limit.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And I mean, you still use those techniques today. I drive on Highway 17, which is kind of like an Indy 500 racetrack over here in Santa Cruz.
Oh my gosh. So when you do so you do that for what, 8 years? You do
I
from
did that,
till almost 50?
yes.
Okay. And now this is the part that is just, I mean, you thought that was amazing. Wait for this part of the story. So now we're almost 50. And now what?
Well, my back collapsed with herniated discs and spinal nerve damage, and I was told I wasn't going to walk again unless I had surgery. And I hadn't been listening to my body. It was starting to hurt, but I thought a little tweak here, a little tweak there could get it fine. Uh-uh. This was called, I was learning ancient Hawaiian healing while I was in Hawaii, learning how to pull negative thought forms from the interior of your body and get closure on them. I was
Mhm.
learning a wonderful technique called Ho'oponopono, which means to make right right.
Yes, I love that.
And it was an amazing experience because I was completely at the will of spirit because I was laying in bed. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk. And I was just breathing, doing the deep ha breaths, which allows the unconscious mind to release your negative thought forms that it has been holding inside because it loves you so unconditionally. It will run your body based on what it has there, but it would rather release them. So
Right.
I would start breathing, doing the ha breath for like 10 minutes, and then finally this one memory came zipping out. I have it on page 109 of the book,
Hmm.
of a tiny little fetus just being thrown out into the abyss of the universe and darting all of these asteroids and comets. And I could just feel that I was going to die because I was going a million miles an hour. And I knew something was going to collide into me, but then suddenly there were these hands, and I remember them so beautiful, these just loving hands that came and lifted the fetus up and placed it in the arms of this divine being that was way over all of the chaos down below. And at that moment, I woke up feeling completely loved by a spiritual family that was not my earth family, but that it was all right to be loved and that I was worthy to be loved. And I called my mother right away because she never spoke to me about my birth. And I never met my father. She wouldn't even talk about him.
Hmm.
I couldn't press it because she was pretty powerful. Anyway, she finally gave in and said that I had been taken to 3 abortion clinics and that they had tried to abort me, but for some reason the doctor had stopped. And voila, here I am.
Huh. But when I think of that memory coming up, and when you do the breathing, that is that the what do you call that breathing again?
It's called the ha breath.
Ha breath, and it's doing it when you inhale for 4 seconds, and then you say,
And
ah.
holding it and then breathing, exhaling it out. But the ha is igniting your higher self. That's what it means. The ha breath is igniting and inviting your higher self to come down inside of you. And the higher self is what heals the physical body. When you get the debris out of the way, it's like calling Roto-Rooter in,
Mm-hmm.
clean the pipeline. You clean the pipeline, and then it's free to send up your desire, your wishes up to the higher self. And that's what happened, is that memory was released, and I could actually see that, I was thrown out like a piece of garbage when,
But
when people want to get rid of you in an abortion. It feels to the fetus like you're a piece of garbage,
right.
but I
So
was saved.
so you healed that memory by
Yes,
bringing it up through that breath,
exactly.
and then calling your mom and getting confirmation.
Right. It's as though I looked at it for the first time. I
Huh.
couldn't handle it before.
Right.
Sometimes things are so horrific to the person that they just shove them down into the deepest recesses of their mind or their body. And that was lodged in my back,
Hmm.
completely lodged in my back, because I had been saying to myself, I'm not enough. I can't be supported. So I'm always trying to do something to allow myself to be accepted or loved. So maybe even the stunt driving was a way for my mother to see, I can do this. I can drive this car. You can't drive, but
Right.
I can drive, and I can
Right.
get paid a lot of money for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the deep root cause of a lot of the things that I did, even wanting um, to be an actress or to go to Broadway or do things. It was more like to get recognition so that I could validate that I was worthy to be loved.
Right. Like the significance, and
Exactly.
like Tony talks about, like what your values are. That was important to you, was the significance.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, if you don't heal that root cause, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
But for my mother to admit that I had been taken to abortion clinics, that was a huge thing for
Mm-hmm.
her to admit that. And it was okay. I forgave her because I came. I mean, here I am. I fought to be here.
Right.
And there was a reason for it, I believe.
Oh,
And I didn't
totally.
have to work so hard anymore. That was the one thing that it proved. It was like, oh, I can relax now because I know I'm loved. I saw that those hands that picked me up,
Huh.
they loved me, they took care of me, they made me feel safe. And so my whole life changed, and I started to think, okay, what is it going to be like to climb trees now? And you have to have a strong back to climb trees.
Right.
So that's the thought that I gave my unconscious mind, was that I'm going to climb trees again. And the unconscious, which is like a 2-year-old, goes, oh boy, we're going to climb trees. Oh boy, we're going to climb trees. And he sends that up. His name is George. That's what they call him. Hawaiian, Udihipili or George.
Uh-huh.
So he sends that all the way up the pipeline to the higher self, which heals my physical body. Within the next couple of days, I walked out of my bed completely well. The scoliosis that I had been born with was gone. It was magic.
Yeah, there you go. Magic, magic, magic.
There it
But
is.
when you go to Hawaii, you learn this breathing
Right.
technique, huna.
Well, you learn Huna is leading a hurtless life, and it's accepting complete 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you in your life. So I accepted the responsibility of my back being the way it was so that I could uncreate it.
Okay.
Somehow I created it with my thoughts, with whatever I was doing to myself. And if I accepted that responsibility, then I could uncreate it.
Okay. I love that. And that's so powerful to know that, because when you understand the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts, and when you realize that the thoughts that you are thinking or speaking,
Right.
your subconscious mind only listens to if you're saying my back hurts, instead of, oh, my back is healing beautifully,
Right.
so all it hears is it's healing. Okay, I'll heal it. Right.
It doesn't hear the negative. The
Right.
unconscious mind does not hear a negative. So if you say, don't smoke anymore, all it hears is smoke anymore. Doesn't
Right.
hear don't.
Yes. Those words are so powerful. Those don'ts, or those can'ts, or anything that the words that you speak or think, we think, what, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and they're all basically the same thing. And, we're like this computer programmed into this mind that is, if once you stop it with this healing and the breathing and understanding that, once you switch that little one word,
That's
that
right.
is when it happens, right? The magic.
Expect a miracle and you'll get one.
Right, exactly. And I love that. And coming from you and your story, and then going to Hawaii, and why. So I know I want to go into Hawaii right now, because I feel like learning what you did in Hawaii with the dolphins and the turtle, and I want you to tell that story, because whatever drew you to Hawaii, that was total magic.
Well, remember, I couldn't even admit to Tony Robbins that I did not like water. I was so afraid of water. I wouldn't go in a swimming pool with my kids. I just never, I avoided water like the plague.
Huh.
So when I decided that I wanted to do an advanced hypnosis course, it was being held in Hawaii, surrounded by
Ah.
water. So I go with anticipation that I'm never getting into that water. So we're doing heavy breathing techniques, and that's the ha breath. And while I'm doing this, they call it the higher self connection. All of a sudden, I'm seeing at the top of my head just this ocean opening up, and all these dolphins and whales are pouring into my psyche, and I'm watching them, and I'm thinking, where in the heaven's name are these coming from? Because
Huh.
they're not on my radar. And then starting that evening in my dreams, the dolphins are there teaching me how to swim. I wake up in the morning and I've got this desire to want to go out and be with the dolphins, but I have to cut through the water. How is
Oh
that
my
going to happen?
gosh.
It was a real dilemma. And then finally, I had a friend who said, I'll take you over. And I remember grabbing onto his arm, creating a scar on his arm from where my nails penetrated. I was so scared.
Huh.
But we went out and got through the waves. And I remember there was a big bottlenose dolphin that came right up, and he just stared at me, and he just stared. And I felt all this downpouring of love coming in. And I forgot about the ocean. I forgot about the water. And I wanted to get out. I was hooked. It was like they really recruited me, and I kept going for more. And I had a friend who said, you could take people out there and I could facilitate this. And that's how all the seminars took place. So we did groups for 10 years, and I did individual people for another 10 years till the
Huh.
pandemic hit.
Wow.
And we
But
just
there,
called the wild dolphins in and they would come.
so I was reading that on your website. So you would kind of sit there with your groups and then you would wait to see the pods come. Then you'd say, oh, here they are, let's go.
Well, sometimes we would sing happy birthday. We would all get in a circle and start singing happy birthday because that's a very joyful song. The dolphins are very attracted to joy.
Huh.
So like little kids or anything, they want to come and play. That's really what life is all about, is love and joy.
Right.
And so when they finish feeding from the evening, they come back to the bays and they just want to play the leaf game or they want to play with you. And so the happy birthday song is really effective.
And so when you were talking in one of the interviews I was listening to, you're saying, be careful if whoever's next to you, you might fall in love with, because
That's
the
true,
love of the dolphin is on
right?
a different frequency. I mean, their vibration is so high and
It's
it's such a love, right?
it's totally true. And I did fall in love once.
So
I did.
funny.
I mean, it was years ago, but it was just, it's tremendous. You lose yourself completely. It's like they take you through another portal. So it's
Huh.
another opening. And you don't have to be a great swimmer because they come up every 7 minutes to breathe. If they
Mhm.
don't, they'll die.
Wow.
You can be up at the surface and just watching them, or they come up next to you. Um, I was, I'm just always in awe. They saved me from a shark once. I was playing the leaf game, and a dolphin came by and kind of knocked me on the arm. And I looked up, and this shark was coming straight at me. And almost immediately, the whole pod just surrounded me in a circle, and the
Wow.
shark couldn't get through. He went down below, and in my silliness, I thought, gee, he doesn't have anybody to play with. He's all by himself. And we have all our friends here. They just didn't give me a chance to get scared. They were just right there.
Wow. Ugh, that's so amazing. And I've always loved, used to run on the beach all the time and the dolphins would, be there. And I'd always know that was like a sign of, thank you, God, for, I'd be in my mind, meditation. But just knowing those sweet little animals, and we go to SeaWorld, the girls and I went last week, and I just sat there and looked at those dolphins. But now, I never knew that about the dolphins until I started learning about you. I didn't know they had that high vibration of love. And it just makes so much sense when I see them and they're playing. And when I think about, we'll talk about it, your book is Find Your Friggin' Joy,
Right.
like be like a dolphin, like let's just play and be love. That's really what life is. And if people just get to that place in their mind, knowing all we're here to do is have fun and love,
That's true.
right?
Entertain, entertain ourselves and spread the joy.
Right.
Just be like the dolphins. No, it's so true. I mean, they changed my attitude for water here. I live a mile from the beach. I don't go in this water because it's so cold.
In Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah. But I just love just seeing them out there. They don't spin. These are the different kind of dolphins than the ones in Hawaii,
Oh, okay.
but they still jump out of the water and we still see the whales. I went to swim with the whales in Tonga
Huh.
that once. It's a very different experience than the dolphins because their eye is so big. It's almost as big as your body.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and they scan you. And the
Huh.
eye just goes up and down like they're scanning you, taking an x-ray of what is she like inside. And then I
Huh.
remember saying to them, I'm so sorry for all the turmoil and all the terror that we caused you. I'm sorry for the people that destroyed you. And I was just crying. And
Huh.
but you could feel that they were listening and being empathetic. I mean, I had a big humpback just next to me within inches, and the fluke just going right over me. I could have hurt me at any moment, but it was so gentle. It let us play with they had a little newborn baby.
Oh my gosh.
It was just amazing. And then I went off with another two whales they were lovers, I guess. And I was looking down at one and I thought, where did it go? Where did it go? And there were all these lights coming up. And then all of a sudden the nose came underneath me. I was here and the nose of
Oh
the
my gosh.
underneath. I was a little bit freaked out. I remember I was going, help, help.
Oh, funny.
But he was gentle.
Oh,
He was gentle, didn't open his mouth. And as gently as it came up, it gently came down, just to
huh.
let me know that it was there.
Oh my gosh. I want to talk about the Ho'oponopono
Yes.
because I had, like I told you, Dr. Joe Vitale on a few weeks ago, and we talked about that. And ever since um, I've known about that, I actually at Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, we spend an afternoon outside saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. We do it over and over again. And so I did learn that back in 2018.
So
And
Tony incorporated Ho'oponopono
yes, he did.
because we never talked about that.
Yeah, he does that one of the days where we go outside and we say that over and over, and we do our like our affirmations, our incantations, right?
Incantations.
Um, but ever since I did that and learned about that, and then studied and read Joe's book, I just that zero limits.
Yes.
Um, I get it because when I say that, and I was telling my sisters too, I'm like, gosh, everything is love and cleaning and clearing. And it's about you and your inner self, and nothing outside of you has anything to do with you, right? Like you are you and you clean and clear. And doing that one little thing, even though you don't even think it's doing anything, it is.
Absolutely. That's why whenever you have any kind of sadness or anger, just say those words because you don't know what you're cleaning in addition to that. And it's neutralizing the playing field is what it's doing so that you can be in the present time.
So when you explain to me, like, give me an example. So when you have something go on in your life and it's like a trigger.
Yeah, like right now, I have computer problems. I have to reset my password. I haven't done all this, and it can make me crazy. I have to kind of take a break and just sit down and then just put all the computer stuff down below me, take a deep breath, and just say, I'm sorry. And it's really, I'm sorry for having these thought processes, for having these judgments that I can't get this computer problem fixed.
Mhm.
So I just say, I love you. I, I forgive you. Thank you. And then for me, I take a cutting instrument or I feel something sharp spinning around me and then watch those things just float away. What I'm forgiving myself is for the judgments that I've had connecting to that. Of course, it's going to get handled. Of course, I'm going to be all right. And I have to let go of the way I'm stressing about it. Because I remember Tony used to say, there is no stress in the world. There's just people with stressful thoughts.
Right. I love that.
So I created that.
Right.
Everything you see out here is coming from in here.
Right.
So, like forgiveness, what do they say? Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has just crushed it.
Right. Wow, that's beautiful.
Mm.
But everything that you are experiencing, you're attracting.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's a
And
magnet. It's a
magnet. We
magnet.
are magnetic beings.
Totally.
And what I've been learning, and I'm in a course right now where we're learning about limiting beliefs and being aware. It's almost, I only have been in it for 4 or 5 weeks. And it's almost where I'm at the place where I even notice now, not only do I not react because I know that it's in me, it's not the other person. I know that it's now the thoughts, and I'm quick to change those thoughts. And it's such an awareness to get to understand that everything outside that you are experiencing, everything is what you are attracting. Whatever you in this computer thing that you're dealing with, you attracted that.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so somehow I have to deal with it in a very gentle way, and I know that the angels are guiding me.
Yep. What do you do? Do you have a big morning routine?
Not so much, it's more at night. I take a bath. Every night I have to take a bath and I cut my cords so that all the negative thought forms go down the drain. And
Are you closing your eyes and visualizing a knife cutting or scissors cutting them?
chainsaw.
Oh, a chainsaw. Whoa, you're powerful. Of course, it's a chainsaw for you. Oh my gosh.
No, I'm
But
teasing. It can be anything. It can be a knife, scissors, but if sometimes it has to be a chainsaw, you
but what
know.
are you doing? So what is like you're laying, because I would say here you are, this person that's cleared and cleaned and all these things. And I know we always have that, but I feel like what do you what is whatever comes up in your mind at the time and you just cut it?
That's right.
Okay,
And
explain it.
if you have, well, I have a CD called Chant and Forgiveness, and that has the cord cutting process. I talked to Dr. E. Hiliakala Len years and years ago about the way that it was explained to be by Morna Simeona. She's the one that spread the Ho'oponopono around the world. It's where we all learned it from.
Hmm.
And I think she died in 1992. But anyway, it's more or less putting all the things down below you that you have conversation with inside. If you have some kind of conversation, then you're courting yourself with these webs that we weave around ourselves. The Hawaiians called them aka, but even in the Bible, they're called the webs we weave around ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I just put all these things down. I make them very tiny. And then I send down the light from my breath and offer the forgiveness and then cut the cords. And then with my hand, I watch them float away. And then I tuck the leftover cords back inside myself. And it just neutralizes the playing field so that you now are in the void. You're in the Akashic, or you're in the Eo. That's the very famous Eo word that the Hawaiians used for creation. Once you cut cords, you can begin again. And then everything is light, everything is neutral, everything is present time. And you know you're there when you're not conflicted anymore.
Right.
So
That's what I love.
you just keep saying that until you feel that it's neutral. So I created Chant and Forgiveness over 25 years ago. It's in the library at TuneCore and iTunes, and can take people through the forgiveness process.
Oh, neat. What about your book? Tell us about your book. Find your friggin' joy.
Well, it's not for sissies. It's for people who really want to take their own. Um, they want to they want to do their own healing.
Hmm.
So they take responsibility for what they have done, and then they can uncreate it. If you're blaming somebody else, then this book is not for you.
Right. If you're the victim.
Right? And it goes through everything that I did to heal my back, takes you through the forgiveness process. It even has the chants that I say in the CD. The Hawaiian chants ask for the darkness to leave. See, English is just a really young language. It's not as powerful as the ancient Hawaiian teachings and the ancient Hawaiian sounds. The chants are woven into this chant and forgiveness, and there's symbols that are woven into it. And
Hmm.
if someone is possessed by some dark, shadowy body, it asks them to leave in not so wonderful terms, and it leaves the body. So it's a real powerful CD or MP3.
Hmm. But your book,
Oh,
whatever started
oh,
your you saying, oh, okay, Write a book.
Yeah, no, not that easy. Just like the water, like I didn't like the water. I wasn't going to go in the water. Well, you're going in the water. The dolphin said you're going in the water. Um, I lost my son 12 years ago, 2008. He died of an overdose of drugs. He had back problems and he saw me with my back problems. He saw me heal my back, but he couldn't go into those places where I went to heal the dark thoughts that he had inside. And so he counted more on drugs and surgeries. His dad, my first husband, was an orthopedic surgeon.
Hmm.
He encouraged him to have all these surgeries, and they just left him in pain. So he finally took his life to get away from the pain.
Oh,
It's something I had
cannot
to
imagine.
cope with.
Right.
And then shortly after that, I lost all my money in a Ponzi scheme.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Your life, no. Oh my goodness.
I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, and so all of these, I said to myself, okay, I can't lose my health. I can't have my daughter take care of me. I just have to sell what I can sell just to manage, what I'm going to do next. So I did. I sold everything that I could possibly do. I went to live with my daughter. I took care of our little grandson, who was just about a year and a half. And he literally saved my life because he was so full of joy, as a little child is. I
Hmm.
had to be up and ready to play every single day.
Right. Oh, I love that.
So for about 7 months, that's what I did. And I kept doing Ho'oponopono. I kept cutting cords, cutting cords. But the grief was still there. A
Hmm.
friend of mine took me to see a movie called I can't think of the movie now, but it was with Dr. Eric Pearl and Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Oh, yes. I remember you talking about that. I even looked it up.
Yeah, what was it called?
Um, I don't remember.
It'll come.
It will come.
Anyway, I saw Dr. Pearl do a reconnective healing on a young little boy from Greece, and everyone had given up on him. He was in a wheelchair, and after doing these sessions where he never even touched him, he just pulled frequencies, played with these frequencies. The little boy stood up from the wheelchair and started playing in the playground.
Oh my gosh. Matrix. Something about the Matrix.
Living Matrix.
Living Matrix.
Living Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And so I was just as enthralled as I was with Huna years ago, and I had to find out how to experience it. I found a practitioner in town, and she did a reconnective healing session on me. She didn't know a thing about me. And then when I got up, my my grief was gone. The
Yeah.
joy had returned back to me, and I was feeling light. And I said, how did you do that? She
Huh.
didn't know. You don't know what you're going to get when you do one of these sessions. You're pulling and playing with these frequencies, and I was just ecstatic. I also had my reconnection done, which is a 2-day process, and it brings these acupuncture points into a bandwidth that connects to the higher self out in the universe. Anyway, it puts you on an accelerated path of your soul. And after I had my reconnection done, I heard a voice say, "You're going to write a book." And instead of going, "No, I'm not," I went, "Okay, where am I going to write it?" That was what had triggered
Huh.
my. I said, "Fine, I'm going to do this." And then the lady that booked me on your show, Jennifer,
Right.
was engaged to a guy named Jim Ellis, who is her husband now. And he became my organizer for the book.
Huh.
He would send me notes every week and say, "Explain this to me. I know nothing about this stuff." So I was forced to kind of explain it in a third grade capacity so that everybody could understand it. So it
Right.
wasn't just a big woo-woo thing. So it took us 3 years, but we did it.
Oh, wow.
And on 12/21/12, the day the world was supposed to come to an end, my book went live.
Oh, I love that. And also to explain the sunflower, because I know that's on the cover and I never knew there was meaning in the sunflower.
It stands for the higher self.
Huh.
It represents your higher self. So that's where you're going when you find your friggin' joy. You're igniting the sunflower that is above you.
Oh, okay. Now I'll picture that when I'm picturing my higher self. I'll picture a sunflower
Yeah, totally.
up on my top of my head, right?
Yeah, it has no body. So the higher self is with everyone. It has no body, but you have to invite it to come in. So it has to be invited, and the breath is the one way in sets of 4 to bring it down inside of you. You can do that all during the day. It doesn't have to be one particular time that you're going to be meditating. I do it when I'm even in the car. Put my hand on the wheel, and it triggers me to take a deep breath to the higher self. It's as though you're filling a glass of water. Each time you breathe up, the water comes a little bit more full, and then when it gets to a certain point, you can bring it down.
And so when people are listening to this and they're saying, okay, they're talking about their higher self. I understand higher self. How do you explain it to somebody that isn't understanding what a higher self is?
Well, there are 3 parts to man. There's a low self that runs your body, the unconscious mind. There's the conscious mind, which you know, it's your free will. And you have a higher part of you. Everyone has a higher part of you that sometimes you don't get to access unless you really work at it,
Mhm.
really try. I know Drunvalo Melchizedek wrote The Flower of Life. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Um, anyway, it was a very popular book, thousands of words and pages. And the one sentence he had in there was that the most important thing you'll do in your life is connect to your higher self.
Hmm.
So why all the 1,000 words?
Yeah, you just had to come up with one sentence.
Find your friggin'
That,
joy.
yeah, just like you. Find your friggin' joy.
Cut to the chase. Let's get on with it.
Right.
And just make it the simple truth. The most important thing you'll do in your life is connect to your higher self.
Before we end here, so you're like the most fascinating woman. And
Oh,
I think it's just so, there's how many, like for you to share your story with people and give them inspiration and teach them that there's so much more to this life than we really know. And we are so much more powerful than we even can imagine. But you, as a 77,
6.
76, 76-year-old woman, just got married. Hello, everybody. All of my mom and my Irma and all the people that are in my life that are living in their 70s. She just got married. And it just the life just continues. And when you live in love and you live it with that expectancy that what's next, like you do, and what do I get to do next? And what is going to fill me with joy and fill my heart with love?
A
That
puppy,
is who you are. A puppy?
maybe a puppy.
It's just, but when I think of I'm 52 and in, 20 years, when I'm sitting there, I pray to God that I have lived my life every day in the moment. And to learn, I teach my girls, we live right now. We don't, yesterday's nothing. That's the past. We can't change it. We can't do anything about it. We can change the meaning. So maybe right now it's better, but and we can't, nothing, the future is the future, but gosh, to live now like you do. And if I was going to write your book, I would say she lived in the moment. She lived in the now. She knows what it is like she's like the perfect person to have the understanding that this is what we are. This is the present.
Well, just have that, listen to your gut. That's the main thing, because your gut is where the unconscious lives, and it's going to tell you the truth. And whatever it is, even if it sounds dumb, like for me, I wanted to drive a race car. Well, I could have said, well, that's dumb. That's your ego talking.
Right.
Whatever comes up, it's brilliant. Just say thank you for the
Yes.
brilliance. and move through it, move towards it, because fear, false evidence that appears real, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, you just can't give in to that false evidence. It's just an illusion. You break through that
Right.
and then you follow your dream.
Yes. Say yes. Like
Magic.
Tony says, say yes. Right. Tony Robbins, say yes. Say yes to everything that comes in that mind. And I feel like when you do, like you have, and those little breadcrumbs along the way, you are leading that on that path to finding every magical thing that you are supposed to discover in this life that you have chosen. And you are robbing yourself when you let the false evidence appearing real stop you from doing all of those little messages that are coming to you from your higher self to lead you on this beautiful journey that you wanted to learn. You have choices, we have free will, all those things, but oh my gosh, if you listen to that voice and go take that car racing class, but you did. And that you're just a pure example. And then to get married again, like it just doesn't end. And you live in the moment, you live the fullest, because when you leave, there's no what ifs. There's no, oh shoot, why didn't I do all these, no, what a feeling, right?
Yeah. What's next?
Yes. What's next? Not what if, what's next? That's your next book. What's next?
Now I'm going to go play now.
Right? Oh, it's been so fun. Oh, this podcast has been such a blessing in my life. And I listened to that voice just like you did to take that car racing and all of the other things you did, but I listened to it. And if I can look back at that moment that I remember listening to the voice that said, you got to start a podcast. And I thought, and I said, yes, I just did it.
That's right.
And then I thought the next day, what was I thinking? But I just kept going. And then you take the next step and then the next. And then all of a sudden I'm almost 65 episodes in, over a year into it, haven't missed a week, meeting people like you that I never would have dove so deep and learned about your magic. It's amazing. And I say, gosh, I said, there's no what ifs in that story. There's no what ifs.
The sky's the limit.
Yes.
Maybe I'll see you on cable TV.
Maybe. But there's just no limits. The limits that people put upon themselves, that all are, it's based on their fear. And, I just feel like, maybe now we've, had our 2020 experience and we're maybe hopefully like that stopped everybody and really had to look inside and said, wow, what are we going to do? Let's take this next step and go and take it up to this next level, and really get higher and ascend to this place that we could all go to and have this awareness that we can be, do, or have anything. We are so powerful. And you are a prime example doing this, what you do for 76 years of your life, knowing at the beginning of your life, up until 40 years old, that you did whatever anyone else wanted you to do. But you listened to that voice when you were 40, like, this is not working. This is not who I truly am meant to be. It's never too late.
Never.
No.
Married at 90 if you want.
Yeah, let's get exactly. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Your story, your life.
Surround yourself with people that also, encourage you and
yes,
not discourage you, because people can throw down your ideas and then you don't think about them anymore. You really
yes.
shouldn't tell anybody what you're thinking of until you've done it.
Right. I know. I always, I tell the girls too, my daughters, when you have a good idea and you're really excited about it, share it with me.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to steal your joy. I don't want it to be, oh, it was so exciting. And then someone said, how are you going to do that?
Exactly.
No, tell it to the ones that, that you vibe with, that see you and see the beauty and see the true person, the soul that's inside of you, that I can just pull that little thing out of there. I'm like, you can do anything.
Well, anything's possible.
Right.
Anything is possible.
If you can ride race cars and be a stunt driver and all the things you did, oh my gosh, anything's possible. Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Anyway, thank you so much, Belinda. It's been such a
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you. And your website is,
Huna Healing, HUNA healing.com.
and they can find your friggin' joy on Amazon.
That's right.
Okay. Well, everyone go find your friggin' joy right now and have a life like Belinda.
Aloha.
All right. Thank you so much.